What is up, guys? So the new mid-season update patch went live yesterday. Everything is a bit of a mess, so I spent my morning doing my favorite hobby, stalking some Koreans, and we've got 7 picks that are doing really well so far. Thank you to Pro Guides as well for helping with this video. You can check their guide, site, and Genius stuff down below. Now, just before we actually go into these 7, this is day 2 of the patch. Remember, there isn't a ton of data yet, but I did spend a ton of time stalking so many games. I've especially looked at Korea for 2 reasons. One, because they tend to take games a bit more competitively, and they theory craft a ton more. So the 2 of these together mean that they're normally ahead of the curve in general of the meta, and while a few of these picks are doing well over here as well, they aren't played as much at all. Now, saying that, MALZAHAR is actually being played everywhere. He's probably the most overpowered after the rework. Funny thing is, not as a mage, as a jungler, not in the mid lane. As an idea, for 10 games I looked at, only 2 of those were mid lane as Malz. The rest were jungle. So the build wise, we're actually looking at Runic Echoes, maybe into a Rod of Ages sometimes, but Rylai's, Liandry's, Zhonya, Void, Guardian Angel, and cooldown reduction boots mostly. Skill order is maxing at W and then at E. Runes kind of all over the place, honestly. It's mostly AD reds, armor, magic resist, and cooldown reduction, and then either attack speed or ability power quints. Masteries were all strength of the ages in the jungle so far. Remember, this might actually change, but for now, that is what people are going with. So why does it actually work? The main reason is because of the insane clear you have with your W. The spawn rate is ridiculous. They tank and they do a ton of damage. Remember as well, jungle experience was also buffed after you upgrade the item, so it's actually better scaling into the game. You have insane dragon control, rift herald control. You can actually solo both of these. It's pretty ridiculous. We have percentage health damage now on our abilities, and your ganks aren't even that bad. Every 5 minutes you can flash into lane, press R, and it's almost a guaranteed kill. So our next one, VIKTOR, actually had a reasonable amount of changes, but it was only classed as a minor update, and it kind of went under the radar a little bit, but there is a big difference to his ultimate damage. The burst is down, but the damage over time is up. It kind of makes his playstyle less risky, actually. You don't need to be as close. People aren't expecting the amount of damage from his ultimate now either. Surprisingly, in Korea at the moment, it's actually got a better win rate at lower elo. It's still really good higher, but it's actually better in like gold, bronze, and silver. The reason it's actually surprising is because VIKTOR doesn't really have any mobility or anything like that, and normally at lower ranks, lack of mobility gets you killed a lot. I guess one thing is though, even though you aren't very mobile, neither are the other popular picks right now, like Nivea and Vel'Koz, Vlad. None of them really have much mobility, so you have good poke, good wave clear, and a good team fight. Build wise, it's normally upgrading into our 2nd or 3rd upgrade before anything else. Then Rylai's, Abyssal, Lichbane, Deathcap are the most common items. Skill order is still maxing E into Q. Masteries actually is Thunderlord though, and I guess part of that is because the laser it counts as 2, so auto plus that is going to proc it. You are not the best against high pressure junglers or getting ganked a lot, but thankfully at the moment Blood Razor is really common and everyone is still trying to farm. So Fiddle is another minor mage update, definitely under the radar as well. Basically the changes, his drain hurts less to cancel it now because the CD is much lower, but it starts at the end of the drain now. His bounces are up, the fear range is down, but the passive is better, gives you movement speed boost when you're standing still, basically, so you can run in after using your ult. One of the things I've noticed a lot in Korea is it's actually a very big cheese pick. You get mobility boots on him straight away and run around fearing everyone from behind. He's actually a really good ganker in Korea at the moment. Build wise, Runic Echoes, mobility boots, Abyssal, and Zhonya seem to be the core on him at the moment, maxing at W and then at E. One thing that is helping as well is we're seeing less aggressive junglers, like more farm time, less punishing as well, and you can actually out drain a lot of damage if they're not a super aggressive early pick. You do an absolute crap ton of damage. It's kind of forgotten about because he's rarely played, and he's really good at objectives with his drain, so he can sneak a lot of different things. FIZZ is actually interesting because he's a good mix between mid Fizz and tank top Fizz. It actually does make sense though. The other carry tanks are nerfed a little bit top lane. The new items are good for him, and he's also very good against immobile picks or immobile mages in general. Build wise, we have 2 very different things obviously. So Sunfire, Visage, Iceborne, Abyssal, kind of same as before, but for mid lane, Darksteel, Abyssal, Lichbane, Zonya's Void, those are the kind of things that they're seeing built. Skill order for our top lane Fizz will be W then E, E then W for mid lane. The top lane lane will be getting Further of Battle and mid lane getting Thunderlords. We did actually say before Assassins might be better this patch, and it seems like while everyone is using newer things and new mages, FIZZ is just sitting here waiting to eat them up. He has good early pressure on Dragon, can roam a lot, snowball the game more, and the lane phase is kind of less punished honestly now in both lanes. You can just reach a few items and go nuts. Abyssal is more magic resist, so even harder to kill. It is less damage, but you just let your base damage carry. So this one might be newer for us, but SKARNER has been good for a little while now in Korea, but at the top win rate wise in most elos at the moment. This is now actually full tank SKARNER for most of it. So Cinderhulk was buffed, it makes it even better as it gets later, and SKARNER is very good at sticking onto people and standing next to them, which means more damage. Even with AD carries in theory being better versus tanks, now SKARNER is a bit different. He can just flash ult you and kills you, or at least you're kind of too fast to kite. He can just run after you and you can't kite him. Build wise, most commonly is Cinderhulk, Swiftness Boost, Iceborne, Visage, Locket, Guardian Angel, Sterix, Randuin's, just kind of picking out of those. We're actually seeing some Warrior Enchant into Triforce. SKARNER's more of a carry build, but not as many as Cinderhulk anymore. Skill wise, maxing your Q then W, Strength of Ages for Masteries, and the runes honestly are a bit random. Some attack, speed, health, CDR, armor, some are going AD, armor, magic resist, CDR, and attack speed. He's probably the highest impact tank jungler that you can actually have, almost on the level of the old Udyr really. Super fast, super annoying, super tanky, and still does a lot of damage. Another thing that's so good as well is he's good versus AD and mid laners who are immobile, which are going to be played more now, but he's also good at protecting them on his team. He can grab, stun, and he's very tanky frontline. Talon is another one rising up a lot right now. Zed is permabanned at the moment, and every time that happens, Talon rises up. Every single time, it always happens. Same deal as FIZZ really. Immobile passive mages are weak to assassins. Immobile ADs are weak to assassins as well, so this is kind of the perfect game setup for Talon. This is kind of a Korean specific thing, so a bit different, but Talon snowballs games really hard, and games are actually a lot shorter with the Talon in them than average. He has an insane amount of damage with just a few items, and it kind of hurts to build a Zhonya now on a mid lane, less AP and stuff like that, so it's less attractive to do it, and if they do, they are weaker, which means it's less chance of killing your whole team. It's kind of a double advantage. So build wise, we're going to go Ghostblade, Boots, Tiamat, and then Duskblade. We're not actually finishing that Tiamat though, we really only want it for the active damage in our combo. Skill order, W into Q, Masteries are going to be the Thunderlords, and for runes, most people are going heavy Armor Pen. So Armor Pen reds, Armor yellows, Magic resist blues, and then either Armor Pen Quints or AD Quints. It's interesting, he's actually used a lot when playing against Zed, like as a counter I guess. The meta has definitely shifted less into tanks in Korea, which means Talon is just going to be better. He's not great versus tanks, but he is great versus low health targets. So ASHE is interesting because she gets bummed in a lot of games, but she still wins. Like in a lot of games, actually, she'll have a negative score. She also does have a lot of really good scores as well, so we can't ignore that. But it's really important to win games you're not doing amazing in. She's just so good at being carried. Like you have the kite utility, you have insane damage still when you're left alone, and you have your arrow to pick people off. She is really good at tank killing anyway, good at lower health targets with her Q, high range, slow, good lane phase, and amazing team fight. I actually predicted she'd be overpowered because of Rageblade, but funnily enough, she is OP, but not using Rageblade at all in Korea really. The build is actually Infinity Edge mostly, some go Essence Reaver, but most Infinity Edge, then Runans, and then we have a choice of either Essence Reaver for Glass Cannon, Blade the Ring King for tanks, Bloodthirster, or Last Whisper. Skill order is mostly W into Q for that poke damage, Mastery is further, and runes are going to be normal. Now I also just want to mention these 5 very quickly, just Kindred, Echo, Soraka, Taric, and Sivir. These guys were all strong before the update, and they are still doing really well now, still top tier. I've gone into these a fair amount already in other videos. There isn't really any difference from before, same build, same style, so yeah, I didn't really think there was much point me going into them, and I don't think you'd really learn much from me talking about them that you didn't already know. So that wraps up this video. Thank you to Pro Guys for helping me with this video. You can check them out down below. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, but for now, let's go to the robots.